Hey guys, this week's video is going to be a bit different, since I'm very busy at the moment with several things, some of which have to do with the channel. However, I was able to do a bit of preparation work to make it more interesting. Not to mention, this is a video I've been thinking of for a while, and I just wanted to find an adequate time to actually work on it. So let's just jump right in. Dark Souls. We all know that I've brought up the series many times before, but I've never actually done a proper video on any game in the series. And while I'm not doing a review or anything right now, this video is going to be entirely about the games in question, or rather, a very specific enemy in the series. Before we reveal the atrocity that we'll be talking about, let's meet our main character. His name is Pickles, the Cestus Warrior. This hunk of half-naked meat with an onion on his head fights purely with his fists and some studded leather gloves. Nothing in Lordran holds a candle against his Oh. So Pickles isn't exactly the strongest chosen undead, but he makes up for it by having nerves of steel and a brain the size of a peanut. I mean, come on, you'd have to be pretty stupid to try and explore Lordran using just your fists. Pickles is gonna be our tour guide / guinea pig today, which is fine with him. He's a brave soul. There's one thing that even Pickles is smart enough to be scared of, however. What is this mysterious monster? It's the same thing that terrifies every Dark Souls player when they first realize the consequences of their mistakes. And it's also the same thing that Pickles is going to be interacting with for us today. Oh, settle down, Pickles. It'll all be okay. I promise we'll keep you safe. Anyway, Pickles will be demonstrating the power and ferocity of the Basilisk enemy found in the depths, as well as having a much easier time showing us the behaviors of the similar frog race species. After that, we'll be using our imaginations to come up with another third sister species, which could add a lot of fun to the gameplay, as well as scare the snot out of Pickles. So let's start with the frog race, since it's much more simple of an enemy. Frog Ray and the Basilisk enemies are both obviously frog-type monsters. They're freaking huge for frogs, but frogs they are. Frog Ray are characterized by their bright red and deep black color scheme, and they can be found within the deepest sections of Darkroot Garden. Despite their warning colors, these enemies are all but harmless and have no poisonous properties. They like to surprise adventurers like Pickles by sitting just out of sight in the water before jumping up to ambush you. However, the extent of their danger stops at their tongue, which can lash out at anyone they see as a danger. You'd honestly have to really get in way over your head to be defeated by them. Overall, they're not that special, which is why it's no surprise that they seem to only live in a very small area. They're hunted to near the point of extinction as well, thanks to how easy they are to defeat, and the precious green blossom that they drop. Green blossom is the main food source of the frog ray, and when eaten by a human, it gives them a great amount of extra stamina recovery for a while. But it's all but impossible for most humans to make it to where these plants grow. As such, the best way to snag some is to kill a frog ray. Basilisks, however... No, Pickles, don't run away, it's fine. I promise that you won't have any issues, trust me. So basilisks are known to Okay, let's get an expert in here, and give Pickles some rest. So, basilisks are arguably one of the most threatening enemies in the whole of Dark Souls. They look much more like traditional frogs than frog rays. Well, outside of their tiny sharp teeth, their thick reptile-like skin, and their abnormally bulbous eyes. What? Those aren't its eyes? Its eyes are tiny dots just above its mouth? Are they ears, then? What? They're deaf? So nobody knows what those things on its face are? Okay, so maybe they don't look more like traditional frogs, but at least they look less like strawberry pancakes gone wrong. Anyway, they're most common in the depths, as well as in the Great Hollow and Ash Lake. Basilisks are infamous, not because of their physical attacks, but because, as their name implies, they can turn predators into stone. They do this through a mist that they expel from a sac in their throat, up through their mouths, and into the air. Breathe too much of this in, and you're going to end up just like Pickles. Locals like to call this effect curse. Worse still, basilisks like to travel in packs, meaning it's easy to get overwhelmed. But the absolute worst part about them is what happens as a side effect of their curse-mist breath of doom, once you come back to life at the bonfire. Being cursed sucks. As Pickles can attest to, it's truly a terrible, terrible thing. When you're cursed, you have half of your normal maximum health. In Dark Souls. Let me repeat that. When cursed, you have half of your normal maximum health in Dark Souls. On top of that, you can't use humanity to reverse the effects of hollowing or to kindle a bonfire. The items to cure curse are far out of your way usually, and they're not exactly cheap either. And that's assuming you know that it can even be cured. Luckily, Pickles has stocked up on them. The one upside to getting cursed is that it allows you to attack and defend against the ghosts in New Londo ruins, without the use of any transient curse finagling. But that's hardly a worthwhile trade-off. Even though they're simple to deal with once you've spent some time fighting them, basilisks are usually one of the most feared creatures in all of Lordran. So what's the point of explaining all this? Well, I propose adding a new member to the frog species family tree. Wait. Don't leave. Hear me out, because I think this edition may be fun. I like how tricky these frog enemies can be, and I like the fear and caution they instill in players. So I propose we keep that tradition going. Hey you! Come back here! It's not going to be as insane as the basilisk, I promise. So the enemy I'll be detailing today will be known as Heket, named after the Egyptian frog goddess of fertility. Heket is a frog-like enemy, who, like the frog ray, has very bright warning colors juxtaposed against a deep black. However, this time, that warning color is justified. Heket is much more violent and dangerous than frog ray, but is also more versatile than the basilisk in its attack choices. Its most common attacks are using its whip-like tongue to swipe at prey. Calling its enemies prey is an important distinction, by the way. You are possible prey for this thing, not just a predator that it's defending against. At its most basic, Heket can lash out at adventurers with its tongue, which is so heavy at the end and can be swung at such high velocity that it can do a fair amount of damage. But it can also do something that other enemies in the series haven't been able to do before. Using its tongue, Heket can bypass shields and trip intrepid adventurers. This attack requires quick thinking to avoid, lest you find yourself on your back and instantly overwhelmed. If you do end up on the ground, Heket can jump on you and attack the player to do some damage. Much like other grab attacks though, it can be hastened by mashing buttons. The tongue wrap attack can also be stopped not only by dodging, but by attacking the tongue at the right time, doing some damage. Or you can even parry it if you're skilled enough, catching the Heket off guard for just a second, though you can't riposte after said parry. However, this isn't the most dangerous part of Heket's arsenal of attacks. No, Heket's most dangerous feature lies deep inside its belly. When it feels significantly threatened, Heket can call upon the powers of ice as a last resort. Heket stores a special gelatinous substance known as nitric acid inside of its stomach. This chemical is extremely volatile, and extra caution needs to be taken to isolate the chemical. When nitric acid dries into a crust, it has drastically different properties, however, actually serving to line the stomach and isolate the gel exactly as needed. This ensures that it's only used when required. When threatened, Heket can produce another chemical that dissolves the nitric acid crust and interacts with the gel. This interaction combines the two into a gas that expands rapidly. The gas is then forced into a gland in the neck that then ejects through the millions of pores on its body. When exposed to oxygen, this gas quickly grows several hundred degrees below 0 Celsius, flash freezing everything within about a 10-foot radius. This also has the strange effect of reversing Heket's color scheme, giving it a much brighter blue look that signifies the damage it's about to cause. This attack also causes spikes of ice to protrude from its body. If anyone is hit with this attack, they will instantly be knocked backwards by the expanding force. They'll then be under the freeze status. While under the freeze status, players will walk and roll one stage slower than they normally would, and their life will slowly begin to drain. The drain becomes more and more rapid with each passing second, until no form of healing can possibly keep up with it. If the player dies while under the freeze status, they'll respawn at the last bonfire, now under the burn status instead. Burn is a permanent status effect until cured, similar to Curse. Burn makes the player take more damage, makes them easier to stagger, and defensive actions take more stamina. Much like a bee who loses its stinger, a Heket will most likely die within a day after it uses Flash Freeze. However, you likely won't be around to see that happen. If you're not killed by the effects of the attack, or the freeze status itself, Heket will now become more nimble, violent, and has a few new attacks using its fresh ice spikes that cover its body. So how does one cure Burn or the freeze status anyway? Let's start with the freeze status. Freeze can be cured using the very same nitric acid crust that insulates the stomach of Heket. This is an extremely common drop from Heket, but only under specific circumstances. The Heket you kill has to have not used Flash Freeze yet. It makes sense after all. When a Heket uses Flash Freeze, it dissolves the crust in its stomach in order to release the gel. Get a hold of the crust, however, or have some from previous exploits, and you can quickly down it to insulate your own body and warm yourself up, curing said freeze status. What about Burn then? Well, luckily, Heket has you covered here too. Whether it's used Flash Freeze or not, its body is still producing the nitric acid gel, and the other reactive chemical. Due to its chemical makeup, this gel has very soothing and cooling properties, as long as it's not first combined with the other chemical in Heket's body. Harvest it by itself, and it can be used to cure Burn. It's interesting to note that this is also why Heket almost always die after they use Flash Freeze. Its body produces the nitric acid crust lining the stomach while it's still in its developmental stages, far before it starts producing the other chemical required for the reaction. After the attack, with that crust gone however, it's extraordinarily difficult for a Heket to get another protective lining built up. Therefore, the secondary chemical usually leaks continuously into the stomach, combining with the nitric acid gel, turning into a gas and needing to be expelled. Heket can stand low temperatures only so long before it starts to die. It's actually worth hunting Heket too if you're brave enough, since there are many other ways to end up with the burn status around Lordran. Having a healthy backup supply of nitric acid gel is advised if you want to survive long. In theory, anyway. Don't you think an enemy like that would be a great addition to Dark Souls 3 though? Hey, come back! I thought people who liked Dark Souls liked it for its challenge. This enemy may sound intimidating, but you don't have to be such a pickles about it. Sorry, Pickles. Anyway, tell me what you think of this enemy design, whether or not you'd like to see something like it in the Souls series in the future, and maybe give your own ideas for clever enemy designs for the series in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends. Subscribe to see more content like this if this interested you. I've already got a small but hopefully worthwhile backlog of videos you can check out if you want. Have a great week and see you next video. Come on, Pickles, let's go get you cleaned up.